Good afternoon, everyone. Wow, that's loud. Thanks for joining, and we can start early since everyone's sitting down. Wow, what a time to be working in marketing and digital marketing. I think I first came to this show in the early 2000s, and since that time, the only time where I think the future is as exciting as now is when social media were first taking off, and but that was more gradual because we had Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn gradually evolving. But what have we got now? We've got generative AI, and I'll be talking a lot about that and the implications. And I'll be presenting some research we've done for the show, looking also at how you manage marketing technology and manage the complexity. So let's go. So when we're thinking about the future, it's always good. I like to look at these Gartner hype cycles. Have you seen these? Because any new technology like generative AI coming in very quickly climbs this hype cycle, and then we get to this peak of expectations before things plunge down into the trough. So the thing we need to think about as marketers and in our business is it's a tricky time knowing when to adopt and when to move. And what we'll see in the research is that there's plenty of people adopting early. I wouldn't say it's too early. I'm sure you've been to lots of talks where people have said you've got to be trying this now, and I absolutely agree. But there is the risk of giving up too soon, and I think we'll see that generative AI is about to plunge into this trough. So this is Gartner's latest research looking at emerging technologies for AI, not just in marketing, but more broadly. And you can see Gen AI there is right at the top of the curve. They haven't really got any other marketing apps here. One I'd point out is causal AI. So really, ChatGPT is fantastic. You can prompt it to do almost anything you want, but it requires your intelligence, and you have to give the right context, for example, through the custom instructions. So what we really need is tools to support us through the decision-making process. You can't say to ChatGPT, create a campaign plan. We can, but it'd be very generic and probably not suitable for your business, or develop a strategy. So that's where this causal AI will help in the future, but it's some way down the line. I think the other technology that's going to be really interesting in the next few years is autonomous AI. So you may have heard about this with AutoGPT, or you've maybe seen about Microsoft Jarvis, which is a sort of showcase technology where rather than just a series of prompts, you will be guided through to set up a series of a whole workflow really for perhaps managing a campaign in the end. And I think the other thing about autonomous AI, which is really interesting, is how it will affect the consumer. We said in one of our first books on digital marketing that bots would take over, and rather than going to Google and having to search on several sites for your product of choice, you could leave it to the bot and it would come up with a limited number of recommendations. So I think that's where that's going. So GPT is what we're most familiar with. So it seems a long time ago that OpenAI launched that, and of course there's a lot happening all the time. You may have seen that just this week ChatGPT will listen to you. You can give it visual prompts. They've integrated the DALL-E technology where you can type in a text prompt and it will generate marketing creative for your socials or whatever. So really important to have someone in the company to keep up with these changes and how you can use them. So I'll present the research we've done across marketers, but I thought we'd do a limited amount of research with our sample here. I'm just going to ask you to stick your hand up if you've, we'll say within the last month, so I'm sure you've all had a look at some stage. How many of you used ChatGPT personally in the last month? That's quite a few, isn't it? So keep your hands up if you've used the Plus version. So this is where you're paying. Not so many there. So OpenAI, they've already got a turnover, I think, of $100 million based on those people, using the Plus version or with agreements with Microsoft and others. Any other paid Gen AI options? So there's things like Jasper you can use, or Write Sonic. Some of the image-based tools now, like Stable Diffusion, have got their own plans. Anyone else using those? So yeah, thank you. ChatGPT must be pretty good, but I would recommend actually looking at these paid versions because they are tailored for the marketing use case. Of course, ChatGPT isn't the only other game in town, and I said it's at the peak of expectations now. On some of the Reddit communities I'm in, a lot of people are now criticizing it and saying it's actually going backwards in some extent, and they're recommending other AIs which are similar. Two I'd recommend to take a look at is first Pi. Pi for me is the way ChatGPT should have been. It will rather than requiring you to make the prompts, it's actually a conversation, and it will lead you through that like a consultant would. So I'm glad that my consulting days are over, really, because I would have been replaced by Pi. Claude is another one of these conversational chatbots, which is more personalized and is getting a lot more press at the moment. So there are the plugins that are available with the Plus. There's a lot of businesses now integrating with ChatGPT, so it's useful to go in and see how other businesses are using it, the ones with the budget and the resource, like Morgan Stanley or Duolingo. And there's a whole host of there's literally hundreds of plugins now that you access through the paid version. Some of those are useful just for, say, doing a summary of a PDF of a technical spec into plain language. There's not so many in marketing, and yeah, they didn't really rock my boat, but it's useful to see when others are asking you questions, should we be using this? So that's probably what you expected me to mention about ChatGPT. I think it's important to look at the broader picture, though, with AI in general, and it's really how will it affect our marketing communications. So we've developed this race framework at Smart Insights where our guidance for our member resources step people through all the different opportunities for improving their communications. Because if you review this across a business, as I do when I'm consulting, there's very few businesses getting all these right. And to be honest, AI isn't going to solve those problems. It needs a human review to look at the messaging and technology and workflows available. So always best really not to start with the technology, but with the problem you're trying to solve. And that's why we created this life cycle. So the remainder of the talk, I'll be presenting a summary of some of the findings from our research here. You can download it from Smart Insights for free if you search on digital marketing trends for this year, or the future of digital marketing. So I'll mainly be covering media and MarTech just in the time we've got available. In the full report, we look a lot more at content marketing, email automation as well. So I said at the start it's nice I've been involved in digital marketing so long. I've gone quite grey in the time. So that book there, we've just done a new release of, well, both of them actually. They're now the 7th or 8th editions. So they originally came out in 2000. But my day job is helping businesses through the team at Smart Insights to use our templates, use our learning. And I'd like to give a shout out here to Amelia, helped prepare the research report with me, and Gabby, who helped promote the report. So I thought I'd just share an anecdote here. really shows the power of digital marketing, that we'll see in the research later, not that many people are using even basic A/B testing at the moment, despite the sort of impacts I'll show you. So we've just run a test this week with our headlines. So our offer is to help businesses create a winning digital marketing strategy. But I would have thought that most businesses already have a digital strategy, right? So I wanted to talk a bit more about applying AI and also how you can optimize marketing once you've got a strategy. So we changed the top headline to plan, manage and optimize your marketing, which is a strapline we've always used for like 10 years. But just making that one change there dropped the lead generation from this homepage by 25%. So it shows that, yeah, even headlines help, and I didn't have the word winning in there. It's those emotional triggers that are important. Okay, so we've seen there's a lot of complexity in marketing through our life cycle. So what we try and do is simplify, and particularly for senior managers, I think they don't want to get down into the weeds of all the channels and platforms. So we recommend following these 6 pillars of all the areas you really must get right. Now, some of these are obvious, such as you need a plan, you need goals, you need measurement, you need to use media, but also you still need focus on content as a whole, having a content marketing strategy. You need to get the digital experience, and you can see from all the stands here that email automation and email strategies are really important as well. So those are the 6 areas you need to get right, and of course integrated with your marketing strategy, that's the marketing brand strategy is a pillar in its own right as well. So as we go through each one, I'm going to prompt with some of the questions. You can review your own approach to marketing personally or in your business to see what improvements you make. And we're going to start with how mature your business is in terms of its digital capabilities and skills. So this is a shocker to me. So digital marketing's kind of important, I think we'd all agree, yet we see that nearly half of businesses are doing digital marketing but with no strategy. Is that shocking? Seeing people nodding. It wasn't shocking to me at all, because we've been asking this question every couple of years for the last 10 years in our research, and it's always come up with that figure. So I guess it's just down to human nature, or the way that marketing teams are managed, that a lot of people aren't getting this right. I mean, kudos to those where it is integrated into the marketing strategy, which is where you want to be, or if you have a dedicated digital strategy, if you're investing more in that, or you're using that to make the case for, say, digital transformation projects in a larger business. So what we did next was to drill into a bit more detail across the pillars, looking at the maturities. So we asked businesses to rate themselves on a scale of 1 to 5 of how mature they were. So 1 is really where you could say you're a laggard, you're just starting out. We've called it here limited. And then really I would say that regardless of the size of the business, across these pillars and across these capabilities, you need to be at level 3. If you're not at level 3, you're not really going to be able to compete, and you're probably going backwards compared to your competitors. Level 4 and 5 is really for the larger businesses, or the more agile, small businesses with budget they can focus. So, what do you reckon? I'll do another show of hands. How many of you would rate yourself as 1? Anyone going to rate themselves as a laggard? No, you don't want to do that in public, but thank you anyway. 2? You may not be able to see the details here, to be fair, but 3? Seeing a few. Any 4s or 5s? Good. Kudos to you. Now, when we looked at the results from our audience, we partnered with TFM for this, and we've also got a lot of members in the States and worldwide across different sizes of business. So it's very much the whole of businesses using marketing, but it's very clear finding there that if you are at stage 1 or 2, you're not alone. And that's why we have so many people searching our site. We need a digital strategy, I think. We need a plan. Now, because we're talking the future of marketing, we also put a question in this time saying, where will you be in a year's time? So if you compare this to the next slide, you'll see there's quite a difference. So all the 1s and 2s have disappeared, and most people think they'll be in that where they should be at those higher levels. I'd say good luck with that, because it's not going to happen in a year. It's likely, but it's good to see the aspiration to improve. So next up, we're looking at goals and measurement. I'll talk a bit about testing. But first I'll talk about Google Analytics, Google Optimize, because we've obviously all had to adopt GA4 this year and work out how we can use that to improve our marketing. We've created a lot of resources around that. It's interesting, I think, that Google, as you'd expect, have introduced AI guidance into Google Analytics. What's really frustrating to me is they haven't really looked at the way marketers work in the real world, I think, and the types of advice they need. So I personally don't find that the AI in GA4 helps me run the business. I still have to go and drill down and find the reports I need. So that's where I think AI is still some way off. Google Optimize, it's really disappointing that free product that they've killed that, because they don't see it making money for them, and we're now having to invest in some of the other tools, like I spotted Optimizely just along there. We're using a tool called convert.com that we used before Optimize, which we're happy to recommend. That works well for us. So in this area, we asked the question, basically, are you using these sort of tools to do A/B tests, whether it's the web experience or media or content or email? And it's a similar pattern, really. There's relatively few not doing any testing at all, but for a lot of people it's just occasional testing. The number of people who have a regular structured program of testing is only 10 or 20%. So that suggests, well, we didn't ask, but I think it really shows the difficulty of doing this and the need for dedicated resource and the right type of tools, and also the management commitment to ring-fence time for testing and improvement. That's often missing. So yeah, I think we failed here. All the tools vendors have failed, marketers have failed. This was supposed to be the most measurable, testable medium ever, and yet we're not doing that regularly. So maybe the AI will actually help, and I'll show you some technologies like this one, Persado, which can help there. Not a new technology, started off with email automation, where it will automatically recommend subject lines, and their latest research here shows that it does a better job than people at having the right emotional messages to resonate with the audience. So on average, you're getting a 68% engagement uplift, if you can't see that, and the CTR for the highest performing AI messages 2.5%, but for human authored control messages only 1.5%. So it's a good simple illustration of why we should be using some of these AI techniques. Now, Persado is far more sophisticated. You can, and we do this ourselves, you should always ask ChatGPT for alternatives. So give me the top 3 performing headlines and add some emojis in, and it'll do a decent job of that. But what Persado does is look at all these emotional triggers and then substitutes in different phrases to get the biggest response. And they can actually work out, because it's a multivariate test, they can see which part of the message is giving the biggest uplift. And it's often, like it is here, the emotional part that gives the biggest uplift there. Another test, this talks to the the fact that I think many marketers and people in marketing teams are worried about their future. Probably not right now, because it's an exciting time, right? But in the future, 5, 10 years, who knows? So this was the innocent marketing team saying, can we do a better job than the AI? And in their case, they did, but I guess they'd have to say that. So I think theirs was the one on the right. That was the human written. But yeah, they put various tests up on Twitter, and that was their approach. So they thought that they could do the right approach for their brand. Now, because we're talking about the future, I don't have time to talk about everything and anything, but I think augmented reality, particularly if you're not of that younger age group, it's passing you by what is possible. So if you want to see what a lot of brands are doing with AR and VR, particularly AR, have a look at Zapper, ZAPPAR. Their showreel has got some great examples integrating with the real world, and various brands they're doing that with. Okay, so on to media, and the question here, of course, is how are you using the Gen AI to support acquisition? Relatively short section. We asked actually what the state of the art was with acquisition media. So what are businesses finding effective? And actually it's not much different to if I'd given this talk 10 years ago. So it's really search and social and email marketing which are most effective. I've sorted these. Green is where it's highest ROI. So those you can see search, content marketing. This is of course across all sectors. With social media, paid and organic a bit further behind, but plenty of people making it work. I think what's really surprised me over the years is this one, website personalization, because again, it's not new. Amazon did personalization 30 years ago. Many retailers do. But outside of retail, there's lots of opportunity there, I think, for businesses to apply automated tests to recommend the next best content or the next best product. So that's only going to grow in importance and hopefully sophistication. Now, because SEO is one of my areas I still focus on the most, I've been particularly interested in whether Google can identify AI-generated copy and whether that will actually rank more highly. This is one case study from a tool called Byword, which creates a lot of content at scale. So for this business, Causal, they created thousands of articles, and then over the year, this was a startup, they've achieved 700,000 page views. So it appears impressive, but I think it's misleading because the guy who runs this is an expert SEO consultant, and he's put in place the keyword strategy, the link building strategy, the information architecture for internal linking. But worth having a look at anyway. Byword is the name of that tool. Letterbox is another one from an ex-Googler in the States that's trying to tackle this problem. And incidentally, I found ChatGPT very limited for long-form SEO. It struggles to write more than 500 words on a topic. It seems better to help you structure rather than filling in the details. It doesn't have the quality there. So in the last 5 minutes, just going to talk a little more about MarTech, and I don't need to say this this show. There's a lot of technology. You'll have seen Scott Brinker of HubSpot show all the many technologies available. I think there's more than 10,000 now. But the implication of that to me is that you need a defined approach so you've got the best ones for your business. So we call that a MarTech stack. This is the one from Philips. These are published in Scott's Stackies report, which shows for a big brand like Philips, you need a lot of different types of solutions and how to integrate them is a problem. So the question I think for you is, in our business, do we have a MarTech stack, not one as complex as Philips? And we asked that in the report. Similar approach to that first strategic question. So a lot of people don't have a structured approach to selecting MarTech, and just 11% said our MarTech stack is well defined and we review it. So kind of ironic to see that at a show like this. There's a lot of gap, there's a lot of opportunity. We've tried to produce a simpler tool we call our MarTech Wheel, which highlights some of the technologies across our race framework, free and paid, that you can use. So if you search for MarTech's wheel on Smart Insights, you can dig into that, see what you're missing. Now, we first created this in 2017, looking at the broader applications of AI, so areas like predictive analytics, because I've really just talked about Gen AI. So that's also a question that businesses need to plan for in the future. We've only really looked at one of those areas today. So in the research, we looked at how many are not using AI tech at all, quite a few, but actually this figure was a lot higher 2 years ago, before ChatGPT. We were seeing 60 or 70% weren't using AI at all, whereas there's quite a few now who've used it recently. So that is the final slide. I think I'm on time. Thanks for listening. If you have any questions, I'll be over there. Thank you.